Alright, so the next thing is the serratus muscles. And the thing I should have told you at the end of the last one, my apologies, is that when you save these, for the few of you that are keeping up with the models, which by the way, good for you, that's really how you learn the most, is by actually making them. You have to, as you get far enough along into this, there's a lot of resolution. This is high resolution. Each model, each body part is high resolution. And for some reason, saving that is difficult for this SculptGL. And I don't know how many times I resculpted the last few muscles because I tried saving it all together. It didn't work. So what you have to do is you have to save it one at a time. So right now I've got this selected. And you go into, you don't have it on export all. Click that off, and then you can save the parts. And then that way you can import everything as a part, and it should, if you don't mess around with moving it around, it should import right where you want it to. So you can kind of import multiple OBJs to build it up back up to what you want. And hopefully that helped you out, because I was having a lot of problem. Because it doesn't save it for you. When it gets bogged down, it'll just shut down and you've lost everything. So, alright, so the next is the serratus anterior muscle. Now, before we go into that, if you can see the back of the scapula here, and it's not allowing me to paint this part of it, that's part of the glitch I've been encountering. I think is why it's not saving. But right along this border right here of the scapula, the medial border, underneath it, the scapula, at that border, you have a group of muscles that attach, very similar to what we did with the external oblique. So for example, the external oblique attaches singularly to each rib of the bottom 8 ribs. The serratus does it to the top ribs, the top 8 ribs. And so it attaches in an arc that coincides with this arc for about 4 ribs. And they meet, it looks like they overlap or something. They don't, they just meet at that same place. And so if I could paint it, I would paint an arc that goes across here, and then it comes down, angles straight down. So we'll just make it. So we're going to add a sphere. And it's like this. Maybe scale it up. Maybe scale it some more. Bring it in. Turn it. Okay, so I've got it connecting underneath that scapula there, and it's kind of, it's got some work to do here. Maybe you could tilt it a little bit. Let me see what happens if I do this. It's a little bit better. Maybe we can. Okay. So let's see what we could do. All right. Let's get the move tool and So this bottom, it comes straight down. It's not, it comes straight off of that. So it wants to be a straight shot to its point of insertion. So I'm trying to make this more of a straight line there. Bring that out. Bring this down to the external oblique. Bring this closer to the rib cage. And from profile, collectively, these muscles are more of this rounded. So if you're looking at the rib cage, the profile, it's bulked out here a little bit more. It takes away from that egg shape of the rib cage, those muscles, you know, on an athlete for sure. And if it's a bodybuilder, wow, yeah, if you want to make yourself look like you have a very developed torso, serratus muscles add to it, that's for sure. The latissimus dorsi, the back muscles, what you get the V shape. But these are right underneath that, and these give you that. These provide a certain amount of bulk. So let's go with the flatten tool on the edge. But yeah, I had a bodybuilder model for me one time, and he had the most developed serratus muscles I'd ever seen. It was just like this sphere that protruded from his rib cage. It was unbelievable. Yeah, at our school we had we had bodybuilders come around quite a bit. There was one guy, he was a competitor, world competitor. I recognized him, you know. I think his name was Dickerson. Yeah, it's been a long time, but he came into the class, and he was a little guy. But in the magazines, he looked like he was about 7 foot tall, you know. He had good proportions. He was lucky, you know, so that his head was proportionate to his body in a way that it made him look like he had more height than he actually had. Alright, so smooth that out a little bit. Yeah, it's a little lumpy. I don't want to get too crazy because that's not really the point of this muscle. And they meet. This meets with these muscles, so I should probably bring this down a little bit more. Alright, maybe we can paint it like I did before. We could give it a different color. Dial that radius up a little bit. And dial that radius back down. Alright, so let me see if we can do this. It's the bottom, it's the top 8 ribs. So let's say comes there, comes there, comes there. This is very sloppy. So it's a it's so horrible. I could probably clean it up. I could have moved that arm out of the way. That would have helped, right? Why don't I do that? Because that's why I kept it, the arm, so it was still mobile. Oh, wow. Alright. Let's go back to history, undo. Okay. So let's move the arms together so I don't have to go through lining all that up again. Alright. Move that out of the way. Okay. Let's go back to that. Let's go back to paint. Try to do a good job here. Now I gotta try to figure out what color that was. Is that what it was? What does that thing mean? Alright, we'll see. Alright, so that's pretty ugly. And really the muscles are all pretty much the same kind of thickness and everything. I have it getting thicker as it gets down. It's not really the case. They're pretty much even. But let's go ahead and see if we could shape that. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that that could happen. So you press paint all. Wow, I didn't know that. Alright, I'm sure you did. Okay, so we could bring these crease, we could run that crease tool down there. Try to make some corrections to the form as I go. Because the lines aren't really drawn in the right place. And really, you only need to know a couple things about this. Like this part, the upper part, who cares, right? That part doesn't matter. Where it meets the external oblique, that's kind of where it matters. And so, let's see if we can make that work. So this would come in. This would come in. Am I doing this right? Okay. This would come in. Alright, so what you're seeing is, if I've illustrated it right, maybe I could go back in the crease tool bring this up a little bit into alright, so let me get that crease tool going so you can see it even better. Okay, hopefully that gives you a better idea of how they meet. And really, this is where you can tell that it made a mistake. There should be 4 to 5 of these are visible where they basically meet. So this did get too thick. There probably should be 2 here. So that would give us 4, right? But they have to border one of the external obliques as they go, because they're both connecting to the same rib. So yeah, I probably didn't do that as well as I could have. But the truth of it is it's not the most crucial thing, because the number count is never exact. Like, it varies on it. It just really varies so much on everybody. So there's room for fudging around for sure. I'm just making these a little fuller in here. And I didn't bother. This shape continues where it's like this. It gets it's named serratus, right? Because like it's serrated, like a serrated knife, like a jagged edge. And it continues that way all the way up to the top. And so maybe it would make sense to at least do this one here. How it connects to the how come that's not, oh. Alright, maybe it makes sense to do this one, and maybe that gives us what we're looking for. I don't think so, but because this is covered by pectoralis, so we're not even going to see this up here at the top here. But that gives you an idea, and hopefully that helps out a little bit. Okay.